So today we're going to cover Chapter 2, Section 1B, and today we're going to learn how to write the equation of a line. So when you're finding the equation of the line, you can either be given the slope and the y-intercept, and if that's the case, you could just plug in the slope for the m and the y-intercept for the b into your slope-intercept form of the equation. The other option would be you could be given a slope and an order pair, and you could plug it into the point slope form of the linear equation, which is this one right here. The y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1, and then solve it for y by distributing it and put it back into y equals mx plus b. The other option, and this is what I showed you last year when I taught geometry, is just use the slope-intercept. Plug in the x and the y from the order pair and the m, solve for the b, and then plug everything back in again. If you're given two order pairs, you're going to have to first calculate the slope and then plug either point in for your x1, y1 if you use point slope, or plug it in for x and y if you use slope-intercept. In the homework, all answers will be entered in slope-intercept form. Remember, slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b. Now, if they give other instructions, if they say standard form or point slope, then just read those instructions. But if nothing is specified, they're looking for your answers in slope-intercept. Y equals mx plus b. So let's try some examples. So it wants us to find the equation of the line given, number one, they're giving us the slope, they're giving us the y-intercept. So remember, y equals mx plus b. Remember the m here, this is your slope, and the b, this is your y-intercept. So all I have to do is replace the letter m and b with the 3 and the 5, and I'm done. So the answer to this question is y equals 3x plus 5. Now, if they give you an order pair and not the y-intercept, now remember, your y-intercept is always going to be a 0 and then a number. So if they actually give you the y-intercept as the point, then you don't have to go through this whole process that I'm about to show you. So you have two options here. You can either plug it into y equals mx plus b, find the b, and then plug everything back in again, or use point slope. So I'm going to show you point slope first, and then I'll show you y equals mx plus b. So remember, point slope is going to be y minus y1 equals m x minus x1. So I'm going to replace the order pair when I use point slope. This is going to be my y1 and my x1. So this will be x1 that I'm going to put here. And then this is going to be my y1 that I put over here. And then my m is right here. And I'm going to replace that right there. So let me replace. So I'm going to do, maybe I'll come over here to the side. So I got lots of room. So I'm going to do y, and then I'm replacing the y1. And you know what? Let me do that in red so it shows up better. So minus 5 is equal to the slope, which is negative 2, times x, and then my x1 is the 4. So minus 4. So now I'm going to distribute, because all answers need to be in slope-intercept. Distribute the negative 2. So y minus 5 stays for right now. Negative 2x plus 8. Negative 2 times negative 4 is positive 8. Then move the 5. And I get y equals negative 2x plus 13. This is slope-intercept given the slope in an order pair. Now, your other option, option 2, would be to take y equals mx plus b. And again, my slope that was given to me was negative 2. I was given an ordered pair. This time, the ordered pair is just my x and y. So I'm going to replace 5 for the y. So I'm going to put the 5 right here for the y. Then I'm going to put the slope right here at -2. Let me do it in blue. And then I put in the x, which is 4. Right here. And I'm solving for b. So plus b. So then I'm going to get 5 equals -8 plus b. I'm going to add 8. And I get 13 equals b. But now I need to take that newly found b and the slope and plug them in. So this b, along with this slope, go here and here. So y equals -2x plus 13. Notice it was the same answer I got when I used the point slope form. I don't care what method you use for the homework. You're probably more familiar with plugging it into y equals mx plus b, finding the b and plugging it back in. That's okay. But I really like the point slope. I think it's a lot easier. Then you don't have to remember to go back and do it again with the plug-in. So let me go ahead and do number 3 using point slope again. So for number 3, again, this is my x1, y1, and here's my slope. So I'm going to go ahead and plug it in. Y minus 2 equals 2/3 times x minus -1. So this, when I put it in here, minus, it becomes a plus sign. So now it's y minus 2 equals 2/3. The negative becomes positive. And now I'm going to distribute the 2/3. So y equals -2, 2/3 x plus 2/3. I now need to add the 2 to both sides. And then when I add this, since both are positive, I could just put my answer as 2 and 2/3. 2/3 plus 2 is just 2/3. Now, you could have also done it as an improper fraction, 2/3 x plus 8/3. Now, for number 4, this one's a little bit more work because we need to calculate the slope first. Remember, you always subtract the y's in the numerator and the x's in the denominator. So I'm going to do all the work for 4 below here. So they gave me 2 ordered pairs. I need to first calculate the slope. Remember, your slope formula is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. It doesn't matter which order pair you use for x1, y1. So I could say this one's going to be order pair number 1. So it'll be my x1, y1. And this will be order pair number 2. So let me plug them in. 6 minus 4 over 5 minus 2. 2/3 is my slope that I'm going to be using. So my m equals 2/3. And now, because you're putting it in slope-intercept form, it doesn't matter which ordered pair you choose. I'll go ahead and just choose the first one, the ordered pair 2, 4. And again, I'm going to use point slope. So this will become my x1, y1. If you would have chosen 5, 6, you're going to get the same answer because we're just distributing. So we would do y minus 4 equals 2/3 x minus 2. Y minus 4, distribute the 2/3, and I get -4/3. And now I need to add the 4 to get y by itself. Y is equal to 2/3 x. Now I'll come over here, and I'm having to do -4/3, and I could do 4/1. My common denominator here is going to be 3. So whatever you do to the bottom to make it a common denominator, you do the top. So -4/3 plus 12 over 3 is going to give me positive 8 over 3. So 8/3, and I'm done. Now, let's say the question said, put this into standard form. Remember, standard form cannot have any fractions, and the x has to be positive. So what we could do here, if they ask for standard form, what I would do is clear the fraction first. So I'm going to take this. I'm going to times the whole thing by 3. And then I get 3y equals 2x plus 8. But remember, your x term needs to stay positive. So if you move the 2x over, it's negative. But then what I'm going to do, in order to get it positive, divide everything by -1. So then this becomes 2x minus 3y equals -8. So if the instruction said standard form, that would have been your answer. If the instructions say slope-intercept form, then that's your answer. If the instruction said point-slope, then this is your answer. So be aware of the different forms. So again, this is point-slope. This is slope-intercept. And this would be standard. So these are the 3 forms that they could potentially ask you to leave your answers. If they do not specify, then what you're going to do is leave it in slope-intercept form. Because again, remember, standard form is ax plus by equals c. No fractions, and the a has to be positive. Let's try another one. Let's talk about horizontal and vertical lines. So remember, back in section 1a, we learned that a horizontal line is always going to be y equals a number. Remember, the slope of a horizontal line is 0. For a vertical line, the equation would be x equals a number. And then remember, the slope was undefined. And on WebAssign, you were putting it in as DNE. So if they give you an ordered pair and they ask you for the horizontal line passing through that, all you have to do is look at the y of the ordered pair they gave you, and it's y equals 7. If it's vertical, remember that's x, and you use the x in the ordered pair, and you're done. Parallel and perpendicular lines. You need to memorize that parallel lines have slopes that are equal, so same slopes. Perpendicular lines have slopes that are opposite reciprocals. They might also refer to this as negative reciprocals. Just know that once you find the slope of a line and they ask you to find the slope of a line perpendicular, you change the sign to opposite and you flip the fraction upside down. So let's try some examples. All right, so for this question, it says, find the equation of the line with the given information. They want both a parallel line and a perpendicular line. And they are giving us a specific ordered pair that they want it to go through. So the first thing I need to do is rearrange this equation that they gave me into slope-intercept form so I can find the slope. Now, a little trick, whenever your equation is in standard form like this, another way, and this is only for standard form, so when your equation is in standard form, another way to figure out what the slope is you could do negative a, or opposite of a, over b. And that's how you could pull the slope out of that. So here, opposite of a is going to be -2, and then the b is -3. And then once you simplify that, negative, after I rearrange this into slope-intercept form, you're going to see that this question here, the slope is going to be 2/3. But let's try it. So that's just a little trick when it's in standard form. So I'm going to go ahead and subtract the 2x. I'm putting this into y equals mx plus b form. Then I'm going to divide everything by -3. And I get y equals negative becomes positive 2/3 minus 5/3. Notice it was exactly the same slope that I got when I did the trick when it was in standard form. Now, for a line parallel, I'm using the same slope. For part A, I'm going to write my equation that's parallel, and I'm going to use point slope. I'm using this ordered pair as my x1, y1. So I'm going to do y minus 1 becomes a plus sign. The slope is 2/3, and then x minus 2 is my y1 and my x1. So I'm going to distribute y plus 1 equals 2/3 x minus 4/3. Now, if it would have said point slope, this would have been your answer. However, WebAssign wants everything in slope-intercept form. So what we need to do now is subtract the 1. And then once I do that, I'm going to get y is equal to 2/3 x minus 7/3. So let me show you the math over here to the side for doing -4/3 minus 1. What I can do is change the whole number 1 into a fraction and make it 3/3. And signs are the same, so you just add, and that's how I got the -7/3. Now, for part B, for the perpendicular, let me go ahead and do number 7B down here. So for a perpendicular line, what I'm going to do is change the slope of the original line, the 2/3. I'm going to flip it upside down. So the perpendicular slope is now 3/2 and opposite sign. So now I'm going to use that m, this same order pair for my x1, y1, and plug it in. Now again, I'm just practicing with point slope. You could also do slope intercept, find the b, and then plug everything back in again. So I'm going to do, and I'll show you the y minus minus. So this, again, I put in as a y minus y1, which was -1, -3/2, and then x minus 2. I need to simplify the negative, distribute the 3/2, and this gives me +3, and now I move the 1. So y equals -3/2x plus 2 is the perpendicular line. I'm going to do the exact same thing on the next question, and I notice it's numbered the same way. Okay, so this should actually be number 8, and this last one should be number 9. Okay, so for number 8, we're doing exactly the same thing. Now, what I can do here, again, I can do my trick. So the slope, when it's in standard form, ax plus by equals c, take the opposite of a over the b, and then notice negative, the slope of that line is going to be 5/3. Now, let's also practice putting it into y equals mx plus b form, because that's one method you can use to graph. So I need to get y by itself, so I subtract the 5x, and then I divide everything by -3, all 3 pieces. So in slope-intercept, -5 over -3 turns into positive. And now, same slope I got when I did that trick of -a over b. So again, when it's in standard form, the slope is opposite of a over b. Now, I needed that slope because now that's going to be the m I use. So for 8a, my slope is 5/3, and the order pair they're giving me is -4, 1, and this will be my x1, y1. So let's plug it in. So y minus 1 equals 5/3 x minus 4, and again, that's going to turn into a plus sign. So let me go ahead and distribute, or let me simplify this and turn it into x plus 4. I'm now going to distribute the 5/3. So y minus 1 equals 5/3 x plus 20/3. I now need to move the 1 to the other side by adding it. And again, when I go to add the positive 1 to the 20/3, I'm going to change my positive 1 into 3/3. And that'll give me 23/3. WebAssign is going to accept these improper fractions. So this would be the line that's parallel. And remember, parallel, it looks like two straight lines. The perpendicular symbol was the upside down T. All right, so now let's go ahead and find the perpendicular equation. So for 1/8b, I now need to take the slope, flip it upside down, so my perpendicular slope is going to be -3/5. And again, I'm using the same order pair for my x1, y1. So I do y minus 1 equals -3/5, and I'm just going to change this right to an x plus 4. Remember that negative makes it turn positive. So I'm going to distribute the -3/5. And I get -3/5 x minus 12/5. Again, I need to add the 1 to both sides. And I get y equals -3/5 x minus 7/5. So let me go ahead and show you the subtraction. I'm doing -12/5, that whole number 1. I'm going to make 5/5. Signs are different, subtract. And that's how I got the -7/5. So this would be the line perpendicular to that equation going through that specific point. Number 9, even though it's misnumbered, they want me to take both of these and change them into standard form. So remember, standard form, no fractions, and the a, the number in front of x, must be positive. So what I'm going to do first is clear the fraction. So I'm going to multiply my entire equation by 3. So this will give me 3y equals 5x plus 23. Now, you could either choose to move the x over and then divide by -1, or I could move the y over, and then that'll keep my x positive, but then I need to move the constant, my c term, to the other side. So then I get -23 equals 5x minus 3y, but then I'll flip it around and put the ax, the by, and then the c. So that's the parallel line in standard form. And now for the perpendicular, again, this time I'm gonna multiply it by 5. So my equation was y equals -3/5 x minus 7/5, distribute a 5. I get 5y equals -3x minus 7. So now this time I'm just going to add the 3x, and 3x plus 5y equals -7. And there are your two standard form of the same equation that we first used point slope, converted it to slope intercept, and now put it in standard form.